In our daily lives, we get into doing mode instead of being mode. We're running around like headless chickens with 100-mile-an-hour thoughts, reacting, not responding, not taking time. And most of our problems, all of our problems, are in our head, and they're always something about the past or something about the future. Because in the now, there is always perfection. And the now happens so quickly that there's no time for thought. And it's only your thoughts that are your problems. And therefore, to be able to come more into the now, into the being, the human being, is really where mindfulness comes into its own. So we want to bring the focus from outside, inside, to be aware of what we're feeling and how to turn those feelings down or off, and then to be able to think straight. So my analogy is that there are more, the Institute of Heart Maths has studied the heart and the brain connection very intensely. And their conclusion is that there are more connections coming from the heart to the brain than there is from the brain to the heart being the emotional centre. So we could say, just for an analogy, if the connections are voices, I might have, when I'm in a panic situation, 50 voices going, oh my God, everybody's looking at you, how embarrassing, why are you so embarrassing, they're not going to like you, they're not going to love you, all of this kind of stuff, with only 5 connections from the brain to the heart, let's say. So I've only got 5 voices going, calm down, it's okay, you're in an optician's, there's nothing to worry about, or whatever it may be. And so for the mindfulness work, it's really important that we learn how to turn off that panic station, if you like, those 50 voices. And we do that by turning off fight or flight. Now, the fight or flight system, if you like, is an on-off button. And most of us these days have got it turned on and not even realise you have it turned on. For example, without shuffling, just see if you can breathe in and breathe out and let your shoulders drop. And if you can, that means your shoulders were up here without you even realising it. Most of us are walking around like this, I'm exaggerating a little bit, or maybe not, are walking around like this and not even realising we're doing it. Obviously not to that degree, but you know, with a little bit clenched, a little bit wary, a little bit fight or flight turned on as such. And that's going to cause dis-ease. That's going to allow the system of the body to break down, if you like. So we want to learn how to turn that fight or flight system off. The fight or flight, fight, all the blood and oxygen comes to my arms, if you like, because I have to fight the saber-toothed tiger. My survival depends on it. Or flight, everything goes to the legs because I have to run like the wind. I don't need any resources anywhere else. In that moment, I need to just survive. So I need everything where I need it, in the arms and the legs. And that means there's less for actually the front brain, if you like, or the brain, the newer brain that's more focused on logic and planning and all of that. I don't need to plan a route. Oh, well, maybe I'll run here and I'll run. No, you just need to run. And so that's, you know, you might have had the experience. You open the exam paper and you can't even remember your own name, because if you've been really panicking, all of the resources are in the wrong place. There's not a lot left here at the front brain, if you like, to access memory. So we need to turn off fight or flight. And the way that you turn off fight or flight, I'll do this really quickly, just to give you the gist, is we need to take a long, slow, deep breath in. And so I like to give tools and techniques to help that. So I like to imagine there's a coloured mist. That is the breath. So I'll use pink because I like pink. And what I want to be feeling is that the tummy is extending on the 3 counts in and relaxing on the 3 counts out. Now that makes me breathe slower and deeper. By feeling it in the tummy, this is the way you were born breathing. If you watch babies, their tummy rises on the in-breath and falls on the out. So I want to see the pink mist start in my tummy, and as the tummy starts to inflate, I want to watch the mist come up the spine. So count 2 would be at the chest, and count 3 would reach the top of my head. That's the in-breath. And of course the out-breath, the tummy will deflate naturally and the breath will just sink way, way down. So let's just try that together. You might want to put your hand on your tummy because that always helps. So I would normally close my eyes, but for this I'm just going to keep talking. So you close your eyes to shut out the distractions, but it also starts to slow the cycles of the mind. I'm in a beta state when I'm talking like this. As soon as I close my eyes, I start to drop into the relaxation state, the alpha state. Okay, so we have the eyes closed. You want to have a beautiful straight spine if possible, because we want the energy to be flowing freely. So, with me, closing the eyes, hand on the tummy. We breathe in. Count 2 is the chest. 3 reaches the top of the head. That's the in-breath, changes to the out-breath. Back to the chest, back to the tummy. So we're breathing in, 2 the chest, 3 the top of the head, and allow the breath to fall. Seeing the mist coming up the spine, touching the top of the head, and allowing the breath to fall. Tummy's inflating over the whole of the 3 counts in and relaxing on the out. So we're seeing the breath, listening to the breath, feeling the breath, and allowing the breath to fall. Okay, just open your eyes for a moment. So that's basic breathing. That's meditation. If you did that, woohoo, you're a meditator. Okay, and so in the moment, if you've practiced that 5 minutes in the morning, just prop yourself up in bed, don't make it fancy, 5 minutes in the evening, wherever you are at the bus stop, washing up, continuously getting this breath slower and deeper, you'll be able to turn off your fight or flight easily, because the way you turn off fight or flight is by calming the breath. Okay, so in that stressful situation, if I've practiced this well, I just need to go, okay, wait for the blood and oxygen to come to the front of the brain, for those 50 negative voices to calm. And I can feel whatever, the disappointment, the fear, the anger, whatever that sensation was, because it's just a sensation, emotion, energy in motion. But it's got a story and a label on it. So if I'm feeling, you've pushed my button and you've made me angry, it's not really anger, it's just a sensation moving in the body that I have a story about, and I'm calling it anger. If I can just breathe, drop the story, let the sensation dissipate away, because it will, energy always settles. Then when I come back, and I'm now going to respond rather than react, I now can make a smarter response, because the blood and oxygen has come back to the front of the brain. So I'm not going to react negatively, probably with an attack defense mechanism in place, but I've calmed and I've allowed blood and oxygen to come back to the brain. So where I get smarter, I don't feel now so involved in that issue. There's a little bit of gap. I've almost stepped back mentally, if you like, and now I will respond differently. There's a huge bit about this in my book, Tour the Core, The Pathway to a Positively Joyous Life, where there is mindfulness, law of attraction, psychology, all of that kind of stuff in it, and lots of these tools and techniques that can actually help you deal with these situations. Because life happens. Excuse my language, shit happens. That's just what happens. That's just life, but it's how you deal with it that counts. If my car breaks down and I'm not a mechanic, I'm going to panic about it because I have no knowledge, no information, no strategy. But if my car breaks down and I am a mechanic, that's fine, isn't it? Because I just get out and I fix it, no problem. And so as with knowledge and power and tools and techniques, we don't have to worry about what happens in life. As long as I know I can deal with it, it's not a problem. Okay, so that's how you turn off the fight or flight. That allows you to be smarter, to respond rather than react. So let's give you an example of that. So let us say in the office, the boss has criticised my work. You've not done this right, you've not done it on time, what's the matter with you? So immediately that pushes a button in me. Maybe I don't take criticism well, I was always criticised as a child, whatever it may be, I'm fearful of leaving my job. Could be a whole scenario of things. But what happens is, because I've gone into fear, I might lose my job, I've upset him again, why am I so stupid, whatever it may be. What I've actually done is gone into fight or flight, so I might start now panicking, oh God, I'm going to have to fix it, what am I going to say, what am I going to do? And you will know in those situations your mind goes 100 miles an hour and you can't think straight. And the body's following, the physiology follows the mind. So now I'm shaking and probably papers are going everywhere, whatever it may be. So the way to deal with that mindfully would be, okay, he's criticised me, the button's pressed. It's too late, the button gets pressed first. But now I have to deal with it. So I go, okay, let me go to the toilet. So I go to the toilet and I just sit on the toilet and I breathe. And I start to feel that fight or flight get turned off. And when those voices have quietened, then I can start to think, okay, look, no one died. You made a mistake. You can go and apologise and, just explain that, you had to rush because of this. You didn't make the deadline because of this, but you're willing to take it back and do it again, or whatever reparation you feel you need to make. But the most important thing is you have not gone into that reactive, well, you don't pay me enough and nobody gives me support, that defence attack cycle thing, because as soon as you do that, what's the boss going to do? He's going to attack you back or become defensive. And if you watch my video on the attack defence cycle, you'll just see nobody wins from that. So we want to be able to go, okay, I'm still in the toilet, I'm going to apologise and I'm going to say, let me have it back and I will correct the errors. What a different feeling that brings me. I'm solution focused now. I'm responding because I'm calmer and I can think straight. I just allowed all of that, what I might have termed as fear or injustice, why do you always begin on? I can just let all of that go. Just sit on the toilet by breathing and just letting that go, knowing it's just sensation. It's not real, it's just energy moving. And I like to think about that as energy moving because it's neutral. Then it disappears. I come out of the toilet and I go and address the boss. What a different life that would be if you just did that. So the mindfulness work is really powerful. Often it's linked to the CBT work. CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy. And with the cognitive behavioural therapy, they will talk about the ABC. And let me just explain to you what that is. So the ABC of cognitive behavioural therapy, we have A, the activating event. So the activating event in this scenario is that the boss has criticised me. The B is for beliefs, and that brings up a whole host of beliefs in me about not being good enough, I'm going to lose my job, all of those kinds of things. And we know you never have one thought on its own. thoughts cycle and cycle. And in my video, How the Mind Works, again on YouTube, you'll be able to see how that really happens in depth and how to control that. But for the cognitive behavioural therapy, so the A is the activating event, the B is the belief, so now it's triggered lots of beliefs and old programs in me. I'm coming down and down and down the cycle of negativity, if you like. And that's going to have consequences on what happens next. So because I believe he's criticised me and I've gone into fear, I don't know, I may break down, I may cry, I may attack. There could be a whole host of consequences. And of course, every action then has another consequence. So if I then am rude back to the boss, that may actually lead, you know, to my sacking or all of these kinds of things. So the ABC, the activating event, the beliefs that come from that, and the consequences. And again, when you can see the ABC happening, you can really get in there to say, okay, really in that scenario, what happened? If we boil it down to neutral, which is in the CBT is a very powerful thing. They talk about making things neutral from the negative, moving them to the neutral and then to the positive. So that event seems really bad at first for me. Then I go to the toilet and I'm doing my breathing and all that kind of say, okay, what's really happened here? The truly, truly neutral thing that happened is words came out of somebody's mouth. And I told myself a story about it. That's the absolute truth of what happened. Everything after that is my story that I've overlaid on it from my beliefs and programs. But in reality, that's all that happened. And so if I can neutralise that, I feel a lot better about it. God, all this fuss over some words coming out of someone's mouth. And then I can start to turn that into a positive. Okay, so he's just given me feedback on my work. That's good knowledge, that's good learning. I'll make sure that I remember, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. I'll have a strategy to what to do when I go back in the office. In my book, I use the ABC as well in a different way. That when I've seen what's going on, I need an A, an action that I can take straight away. So my A in this scenario, to turn it into a positive, is to go and apologise. Or to say, let me have it back and I'll do it again. My B is for a behaviour, i.e. there's a behaviour I need to change here, i.e. not to be so defensive all the time. And so I might start to work on that in my life. And the C is really a new choice of a new belief program. So my belief program of choice in that scenario where I was unaware is, he's criticised me, I may lose my job, for example. It's really bad. Someone criticising you is very, very bad. I will not be lovable, likeable, or maybe survive. And so I want to work on that. And so I might start again. If you watch How the Mind Works video, I give you the band exercise, a different way to reprogram. And so I might now start to reprogram my mind with a new positive mantra or affirmation. And that's really language that you use over and over again to build a neural net or a structure in the brain that will become the belief of choice, because a belief is just a thought you've kept thinking over and over again. Or we could say build a neural net, a structure in the brain. The more I say it, the more the structure builds, the more it becomes a belief. Something like, I am in control of my thoughts. I am in control of my behaviour. Okay, come on. I'm in the loop. I'm in control of my thoughts and I'm in control of my behaviour. And this is what I'm going to do. So I've changed it in the moment. I've used mindfulness to let it go. But also I now see that there's something longer term that I need to work on, and also a belief or program in the brain that I need to override. So it's a holistic way of looking at one situation that if you didn't ever reflect on and use positively as a learning tool in your life, would actually just keep repeating, because I've still got the same buttons, I still don't know how to take control of my emotions, and I certainly don't know how to reprogram my brain. So every tiny example in your life can be used to reprogram the mind, the body and the spirit. And I really believe that you have to work on all of those levels. And so the mindfulness is fantastic on its own for getting you to turn off fight or flight, to be able to control stress in those situations. But what happens when patterns repeat, because you're taking yourself wherever you go? I've got to undo the programming, and I've got to have a positive strategy for change next time. And therefore you become empowered. You become the creator of your life. And then you start to see, it doesn't matter if he criticises me again, because I know how to deal with it. And then when it's not an issue, he won't even be criticising me, because it won't be a pattern repeating. So that's the way I look at mindfulness. It's the way I teach mindfulness. Again, that's in some ways lesson 1 of the mindfulness courses that I teach at Bromley Adult Education College in Kent, and also the private courses and classes that I teach. And if you're interested in anything like that, all of my courses and classes are available at www.positivelyjoyous.com. I'm always giving little gems on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, comment, like and share, because if you share that gift with everyone, you will receive back tenfold.